I've been a nurse since 2018. I don't stop for accidents. I don't tell people what I do for a living. I've never had to do CPR. I don't intend to ever do it. I see an accident happen, I keep driving.
Molly, you have to help these people.
No, because the one thing that what they teach you in school outside of the Good Samaritan law, I don't want to ever create the patient provider relationship outside of an office setting, like ever.
Hi, Molly. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Before we get into all of the questions that I genuinely want to talk about, please introduce yourself.
All right. My name is Molly. I am a nurse practitioner and a mom of two and married to a military man for almost 6 years, which sounds crazy to say out loud. And
You guys have been married for 6 years?
almost. Yeah.
Really?
5.5. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I see that
We've
smile.
been
at least.
together for 6.
Yes. Okay, sorry. Please continue introducing yourself.
Yeah, we've been together for 6, married. And I'm also what they call a gestational carrier. So I'm carrying someone else's baby, which is fun. That's a new thing this year. And that is the quick and dirty about me.
Identity has been on my mind a lot recently. If you were to think of
Sure.
maybe not just one word, but like a few
Mhm.
words to identify yourself, what would they be outside of like mom, caretaker, wife? What's a word that really describes Molly?
I think in this new role as a nurse practitioner, I would say I've become more passionate than I've ever been before, in the sense of like with not just in my relationship or in my role as a mom, but just in general, I tend now to care a little bit more about everything else going on around me. And that's been new. I think that's come with the surrogacy too. I think that's changed me a lot already so far. So I would say that.
Is that like health anxiety as far as like doing things that, well, I guess where I'm going with that is my friend Caitlin, I was telling you earlier, was on previous episodes. She was like working in a hospital
Mhm.
has given me a certain level of like health anxiety where I see people with like arthritis and all this other stuff. And she's like, oh, I can't do this because that's going to affect me 50 years from now. Would you say it's that, or is it something completely different?
I mean, I would say everyone in healthcare is a little bit of a hypochondriac. Because in nursing school, you learn about something, all of a sudden you're having heart attacks daily or something. You know, it's stupid.
Oh my God.
You're like, oh, I just learned about a heart attack. I think I'm having one. Or one of my friends that I went to nurse practitioner school with, actually, when they were learning about lice, her daughter then got lice. So it's just one of those things where like, that's gonna happen to me. So yeah, I would say in a way, that's been worse in the past. Now, I think as a nurse, it's different because we know the symptoms to look for in the patients, how it presents so that we can make sure they get to the right place, versus nurse practitioner, where like now I know the workup involved and the treatment involved. And I think that changes that health anxiety a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I would
I like your
say,
nails.
thank
Sorry.
you. They're growing a lot right now, which is crazy. I think as a nurse, I had a lot more health anxiety than I do now as a nurse practitioner, especially with like the kids in Matt. Just, you should feel bad for Matt. I'm really mean to him when it comes to his health
Look, don't
care.
touch that.
Like, I don't, just throw a Band-Aid on it. Who cares? I don't have time for you.
Yeah, wow. You guys been married. 6 years went by so fast, Molly.
know.
Oh,
Right.
what have you guys been up to?
Oh, everything. So we got married,
Yeah.
and then the lockdown happened, and then we moved to North Carolina. We moved 4 times to North Carolina. 4 times? No, 3
No
times.
way.
3 times.
3 times? And this is after Charlie was born?
So we bought our original house in North Carolina. We were there until I was 36 weeks pregnant with Charlie. And I was 36 weeks pregnant, on my hands and knees scrubbing the bathroom floor so that we could list our house. And we moved to a different house and then had both kids in that house. And then for the last year in North Carolina. So we were there for almost, I guess, 2 years. And then for the last year in North Carolina, we lived in off-base base housing.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, because That base sucks.
Yeah, no, we weren't gonna live on as like a family. When you have kids, they don't have you live on base. They have the off
I didn't
base
know that.
housing because it's where the big houses are. There's no way we could live in
Mm.
the base housing. And it was too far for me. This was like the perfect middle ground. So we lived in the off base housing, and I've never had to have my military ID on me so much in my life. Oh my God. And these people are like walking up to you with rifles, and I'm like, okay, this is wild. So we moved those 3 times in North Carolina, and then we got our orders for here. We moved here in December, and then we're here for 3.5 more.
Which one do you prefer?
Which one, what, which place?
Yeah, which base?
Well, there's no base here. We're not at a
Oh, I
base.
forgot
Yeah.
about that. Yeah, yeah, I forgot
Yeah,
about that.
we're not at he's considered remote, so we're not at a base here. So, I don't prefer here because when there's no base,
Really?
nowhere takes TRICARE here because there's no base. No one here is in the military. And if they have TRICARE, it's TRICARE for life because they're retired and they go to the VA. So who cares? So like my kids right now don't have a pediatrician because the pediatrician we did have just all of a sudden stopped taking TRICARE.
Really?
Yes. So, I mean, it's fine. We just live in the middle of nowhere, and I think it's easier to live by a base, even if you're not on base,
Hmm.
because then there's more military families and it's a more transient community versus here where like the job market isn't great because you have to wait for someone to retire out of their position. It's
Yeah.
not as transient and kind of populous as at least North Carolina. And so we're trying to figure out where we're going next.
I didn't even consider that about just like the TRICARE and like health, the support really
Hmm.
is like the word I'll use, I
Hmm.
guess. And I don't really know how to frame this question, but I'm super curious on like your life prior to like quote unquote being a military spouse, like having like the military community and like all that other stuff. Because I'm thinking about my girlfriend now. I mean, I joined the guard, but like I'm thinking about my girlfriend now where we're always going to live close enough to a base, and it's not like your situation where there's no base
Uh-huh.
anywhere. And I'm curious on like what kind of impact that's going to have on her life, if that makes
I
sense.
mean, it just depends on the needs. So, like, for me, we didn't have kids. I don't think it would matter. But, like,
Mm.
we have TRICARE Prime, which makes stuff a little bit harder. I think most places around here would take TRICARE Select and we wouldn't have any problems. But because we have TRICARE Prime, that makes it a little bit more difficult. So, comes down to that too, that if we had TRICARE Select, it might be a little bit different. But it just really comes down to needs. Like before we had kids, it didn't matter.
Hmm.
But also before we had kids, I had like on base healthcare. So I don't know. It's just been it's been hard. Like even something as simple as, so Matt now being remote doesn't have the dental and eye services that he would get on base. So he has to use his TRICARE insurance to go to the eye doctor. Well, we don't have any eye doctors that take TRICARE or dentists. And so that's something he's getting used to because he's used to like a unit doctor and
Yeah.
like he's never had a civilian doctor before, has no idea what he's doing. He's never had a civilian eye doctor, he's never had a civilian dentist. So the learning curve has been interesting, but I would say unless you move somewhere that doesn't have a base, we've never had any issue outside it. Like
Yeah.
in Florida, obviously, when it was just us, because we were right next to Hurlburt, and then in North Carolina, base was like 45 minutes from us. So needless to say, like we could go there if we need, like the kids went there for a little bit for their health care. And then but everywhere took TRICARE because it was base. So we never had any problems. But yeah, it's been a learning curve for sure, and with Texas being so big, I think you call TRICARE and be like, hey, I need a provider. And they're sort of like, okay, what about this? And it's like an hour away
Yeah.
and everything's an hour away. So, yeah, it's been a learning curve that we're definitely kind of starting to figure out, I think. But
And you guys are in Greenville now, right? Or like right
he's
outside of Greenville?
he's in Greenville for, yes, for work. And then we live about 20 minutes from there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You like the
Yeah, it's
house?
brand new. We live in a new construction neighborhood, so all the houses look the same and it's
Yeah.
big and it's nice because upstairs is just the kids' bedrooms and a loft, so all their stuff. It's like upstairs is kids and we don't have anything kid related downstairs. And it's the first time since the kids have been born that we have not lived on the same floor as them. So that's been interesting.
Oh,
Mhm.
really? Did you have your, I'm trying to think, like, did you have your kids sleep in your bed
Not in our
like
bed.
longer than, okay.
So they were in our room. So Charlie was in our room until, so let's see. Matt deployed when Charlie was 6 months old, I think. And
Oh, that's gotta
while Matt
suck.
was gone, I sleep trained him and he started sleeping through the night. And so when Matt got back, we moved him into his room because when Matt got back, it was right before, it was about, I guess it was probably about 2.5, 3 months before Ellie was born. So we kind of didn't have any choice. Charlie had to be out. And so we were lucky that he was sleeping through the night. So I sleep trained him, got him sleeping in his room. And then when Matt got back, we moved him out and then had our room back for 2 months. And then Ellie was born. And then Ellie was in our room for 16 months. And really the only reason I moved her out was because we were listing the house and I didn't want her stuff in our room. And but yeah, so she was in our room for 16 months. And then Matt was actually deployed then as well. While when I listed the house and sold it. I listed the house and sold it while he was gone.
You did
I
not.
did. And sleep
Yes.
trained Ellie and got her sleeping through the night and moved her out of her room while he was gone too.
Molly, I will say that is something that I've been trying to like harness probably isn't the right word, but like obviously over the years, like dating on and off, doing the whole thing or whatever. Now I have this awesome, just amazing girlfriend, in Jamie. So she lives in Vegas. I met her through like
Yeah.
work, technically, I guess. I've been trying to like communicate this need for like what you just explained, where I'm like, yo, dude, there's a chance that I'm going to be deployed like half the year, like in various times. It's not going to be all at once. I'm like, I need a rock, bro. And every time I talk to her about it, she's like, she looks up at me and she's like, I think I can do it, and I'm like, I'm telling you, bro. Yeah. I'm like, because when push goes to tons of shove, dude, I'm like, I need you to fucking lock it down. And sometimes she'll jokingly be like, oh, I don't know if I can do that, this, that, and the other. And so yeah, like if anything, that's more of a tribute to you,
Yeah.
where I'm like, we need that.
Yeah.
Like military people like need rocks like you at the
Yeah.
house to just lock it the fuck
Yeah.
down, dude.
Yeah. I think it's not something she can ever really know. I don't think if even a month before I did that, because first of all, husband was deployed. I'm by myself with two toddlers, and I'm a full-time employee, and I'm in nurse practitioner school full time. I'm cleaning the house every day because we have people coming in the house. We've listed the house when
Mm-hmm.
I sell it. A month before any of that happened, you could have been like, hey, can you do that? And I'd be like, no. But it's something that, like, in the moment, you just, like, we decided that's what we got the house on base. They told us when we could move in. And so it was just something that needed to be done. Right. So I don't think there's ever going to be a time where you could say, this is what I need you to do. Can you do it? And she says, yes, if it's in advance. Right. Like, but
Yeah,
in the moment, I think
that's a good point.
you
Yeah.
sort of realize, you have the conversation, you realize this is what needs to be done, and then you just do it and it gets done. Did I ever think I could have two kids 10 months apart? No, but we did it. So
Yeah. Dude, this is so Molly, you've been like seriously, you were fucking holding it down, dude. You are holding it down. Okay. That's so awesome. All right, talk to me about just like what okay. So chronologically, you met Matt. How did you guys meet? I actually don't remember. I like legitimately do not
okay,
remember.
we met on Tinder, and what's the other
Yes.
one?
Okay.
Not Hinge. What's the other one?
Bumble.
Yes, Tinder and Bumble.
Yes.
We actually matched like 4 times. So what happened was we would match and then we would talk, and then I would decide I was over Tinder or Bumble, and then I would delete my app and I would disappear. I actually think I would delete my account. I don't know. Anyway, and then I would come back and we matched every time. He remembered me, but I never remembered him.
He won in the long run.
And so he was in it for the long haul. He remembered me every time. We kept matching on both apps. And then finally, he was supposed to come over to my apartment and he went to Biloxi with you instead. So the next day when he got home and he decided it was raining and he was tired and he was on his bike. So he was probably gross. Anyway, I said I would come over because he said he would make me dinner. And I said, but I need to do my laundry. Can I bring my laundry over? And he was like, sure. And so I came over and I did my laundry. And it was 7 days before he deployed. And
Oh
I came over
wow.
and did my laundry and I never left, literally. And
Oh,
here
that
I
is so
am
funny.
6.5 years later.
I did my laundry and I never
And I never
left.
left. And I did his laundry too because he left. He deployed with an entire basket of dirty laundry. I was like, this is shocking. You were going to leave this for 3 months? You're such a single man.
Yeah, I've done very similar things where I'm like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, so we met online and then finally in person, and I just never left.
That had to have sucked. Yeah, Bilotti has a very similar story where, he met his now wife, and then very soon after that, he
Yep.
deployed. Like, what is, from, I guess, the spouse's point of view, like, what is that like?
Um, it was hard, I think,
Hmm.
because we, I guess, really had only been dating a week before he left, and dating as in like literally met in person 7 days before he left. And so it's hard to feel like them. I think maybe harder for him because like I know where
Hmm.
he's going, the desert. But like I'm staying here. So probably arguably harder on him just being concerned about me being in regular life, which obviously no concern, but it can be hard. He's only known me for a week, right? But I think just adjusting to, because by then this was his thing, right? Home for 6, gone for
Hmm.
3 on a regular basis. This has been his life forever. And so when that's your life, it's very easy for this to be normal for you and to not have the same emotions about it. Like that's just his job. That's what he's been doing forever. He's known about it for a long time and I've known about it for 7 days. And so I think the emotions around it where you're like not trying to be like clingy, but here you are dropping this guy off and you're crying
Hmm.
in front of people you don't know. Over this man that you've known for a week who's now gone for 3 months. And so I think it can be hard to understand those emotions and then to go back to regular life because you've been in this like dream state for a week of like just trying
Hmm.
to do everything you can in that amount of time because he was off work. And so you're doing all these things, then to go back to normal life, that can be kind of hard. But it helps in the long run. Like I think it helped us in the long run and get us to where we are now because you kind of just get thrown in to the fire a little bit into the
Hmm.
lifestyle. And it's hard in his line or like your guys' line of work where like he can't tell me what he's doing or the time change is different, the time difference is different and you're just
Hmm.
like waiting by the phone constantly and all that stuff. So I think it's just an adjustment period. It's just a fast track adjustment period that everyone has. It's just on a faster timeline. But I think in the end, and Bilotti and his wife probably feel the same way. In the end, I think it helps build a good foundation to get you long term.
Yeah, that's a really interesting
Yeah.
take. I like
Yeah.
that. So he then goes and deploys several more times before you guys end up in Tech or in North Carolina.
Mm. Well, so he came back from that deployment in June of that year, and then he was home because then in August he went to A&S for North Carolina.
Mm.
And then he didn't deploy again because he got selected for AOTC and he went to AOTC right after Christmas. And so then he was gone at AOTC for 2 months. So he deployed for 3 months. He was home for a month, was gone for a week in August, and then was home the rest of August, September, October, November, December, and then in January left for 2 months and was in North Carolina for 2 months and then came back and then we got married and then we moved.
That's awesome.
We were engaged for 2 weeks because then we figured it was easier.
How did he propose?
So I drove to North Carolina to pick him up from AOTC
Hmm.
in a snowstorm and it actually
You're an absolute badass.
it started
Seriously.
snowing like the last hour of my drive. And I get there, it's snowing, I park, he's at the Airbnb. I get all my stuff, I get out of the car, I go, and I'm going upstairs. He's like standing at the door. I was standing at the door, and I put all my stuff down, and he picks me up, and then he goes, "Marry me," and that was it. I was like covered in snow. I was like covered in snow. I think it was our 1 year anniversary too on that day.
Really?
And yeah, he just said, "Marry me," and I said, "Okay." And then we were engaged for 2 weeks, and we got married because we knew it would be easier to move with the military and all my stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then when he got back, actually when he got back from his deployment previous summer, I gave up my apartment and we got a U-Haul and moved all my stuff over into the house and all that stuff too. So but yeah, it wasn't a big grand thing. Didn't have a ring. I didn't have a ring until we were married for 14 months, like right before I had Charlie. So I just had one of those like silicone ones, and
Yeah.
yeah, and then we did it. We got married in a restaurant that doesn't exist anymore, which is really sad.
What's the restaurant?
Giovanni's.
No way.
Yeah, they got shut down because of the pandemic. We got married right, like it was like a week before shutdown, and then the pandemic happened, and then they couldn't stay open. Right?
Yeah, Giovanni's definitely does not exist
Yeah.
anymore.
They had a different, like I think different locations. So, but
Yeah, there's another one I'm trying to see. It's 17 hours away. It's in New York. Yeah, that definitely
goodness
isn't it.
gracious.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. So we can never go back to where we were married. That's fine. We're gonna do a vow renewal at 10
Oh,
years,
really?
apparently. I've been trying to convince him to do it every year, but
Molly, why do I not remember your guys' wedding?
I don't
That time
know.
frame, like, legitimately
Because Matt Fish
eludes me.
married us, and we were at the end of the table. We were in the room that had the one table with the curtains, and Matt Fish and both of us were at the end of the table.
You are for sure that I was there.
Yes.
Why do I not have any photos? I'm like a psychopath when it comes to photos because I genuinely have a bad memory, and the only way, like when I say I have a bad memory, like I've like gotten research done into it. There's a bunch of trauma that legitimately is just like blocking a lot of like stuff. And so the best way for me to remember stuff is to take photos of it. And so now I'm definitely really not bad about this. I'm really quote unquote good about it. Where if I'm in a moment, I'm like, I pull my phone out. I'm like, let me get one picture so I can like remember this forever. Molly, you were for a fact I was there.
You were there. We just didn't get like that's like one of 4 photos I have of our wedding. I don't have it. I mean, I didn't take any photos either. We were just all in it. But you were there. You were there with Hope, and then it was
What was I wearing?
Ruth was there, but I don't think Ryan was there. I don't know what you were wearing. Probably like slacks and a shirt, if I had to guess. I don't think you were like fully suited up.
No. I was gonna say I don't even
But
own
you
a suit.
weren't because you and Hope brought us a present and everything like that.
What month and year did you guys
We
get
got
married?
married.
If it's 2018,
No, we didn't even know each other in
I didn't think
2018.
so.
March 8th,
I didn't think so.
2020, right before right before lockdown happened in Florida, at least.
March.
March.
I was in weapons school.
Oh,
And
was
March
she by
8th would have been our
herself?
DC trip.
s-
I was going to say,
I swear
Molly,
you
you
were
just gaslit the
there.
fuck out of
I
me.
swear you were there. So
I was
now I
like,
don't even know.
N-
Well, Hope was there, so maybe
okay,
that's why.
yeah,
Because I know Hope was there, so
yes,
maybe that's why I just assumed.
okay. March 8th, like that is like that date specifically. I'm so glad that you said that because there's a DC trip that we have to go on, or at least when I was
Yeah.
teaching there, and I was for sure on that DC trip because that was right before, like you said, the pandemic just like completely shut everything down, and that was the last trip that we went on.
I swear you were there.
Yes, it actually wasn't DC. We were in Huntsville, Alabama,
Mm.
is where we were. Yeah.
I could
Yes.
swear you were there.
I'm assuming that was on a Saturday, or was it during the week?
No, it wasn't during the week.
I don't think so.
Well, it doesn't tell me what day of the week that was, but I'm assuming it was a Saturday or a Sunday.
Yeah. Okay. Either way, if I was there, that would just be really interesting. I was like, there's no fucking way I did not remember your guys' way. I was like, that's impossible.
Yeah.
I
know Hope
was I
was
with
there.
Hope
Yeah.
then?
Oh God, not right after that, but it was later on. It was like June-ish because it was like combo birthday going away for me.
Hey friends, if you're finding value in these conversations, it would mean a great deal to me if you would share the episodes with your friends. Word of mouth is how this show grows. It's how we reach more people with stories like these, and it's how we build this community of people preparing for their finest hour. Every share and every additional listener allows me to put more resources back into making this show even better for you. If you would do that for me, I promise to work intently to ensure this becomes a show you genuinely look forward to, rather than just another podcast in your feed. If you need something to share, you can head to yfhpodcast.com. Again, that's yfhpodcast.com. There it should have everything you need. Thank you, and let's get back to the show. You seem like very well versed in just like you were talking about AOTC and like all those stuff. Like, yeah, is Matt talking to you in acronyms,
Yes.
or are you just like
No,
picking
no.
all this up?
He doesn't spell anything out for me. I just listen and absorb, and he tells me as much as he can without telling me anything. And he's only deployed one time where he couldn't tell me where he was going, so that's okay.
Mhm.
It's fine. But I vividly remember we were at what ended up being our house in Florida, but his house and we were standing at the island eating, and I said, "So what do you do in the military?" And he goes, "I can't tell you that." And I said, "Okay." And I was like, "Okay." And he looked at me and someone's trying to get in. Um he was like, "I'm sorry. Like it's not like I don't want to tell you. I just like can't." And I was like, "It's fine." And that's how it's always been. I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
really? So you have like no like concept really of like what he does, other than the fact that he like flies and
I mean,
it's like very technical.
I know enough to not get me in trouble. I have the basic understanding. And he's keyed me into some things, but for the most part, I think because he was in it for so long before we got together, he's very good at keeping everything very close to the chest.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, he's very good at not telling me stuff that he knows I shouldn't know, but I know enough. I think the hard part now is I know enough that I can't tell other people. So when they ask me what
Okay.
he does, I'm just like, I don't know. It's the best answer. Ignorance is bliss.
Well, now the whole world, as in 7 people, are gonna know that you.
I know enough to not get me in trouble and
Yes.
not get him in trouble.
Oh
And
man, I'm pulling up
he did
your.
actually deploy to this undisclosed location and didn't tell me where he was going or where he was. So, and still to this day, that was in the end of 23, I think. Still haven't told me. He's very good. He's very good at what he does.
That's funny. So like, as we've kind of talked through
Hmm.
this, it's been very evident like what kind of support you have been able to provide for him. Like when you were going through
Hmm.
school, I can only imagine 2 kids, deploying a husband, like just nursing school in general. What for you specifically, like what kind of support has he been able to provide back to you, if that makes sense?
I think it's hard for him to know what's helpful. So that's something we've definitely worked on is communication in what is helpful for us in that moment for our needs. And so same thing for like he's in school right now. So same thing for him now, right? Like kind of going back and forth. And he was in school periodically during the time that I was in school too. So I think just because he can't tell me, I guess he can't read my mind. So me verbalizing gives him the ability to help me. So me saying, I have this, and this to do. And he would regularly ask me, like, how's school going? What do you have to do? What do you have to get finished? That kind of stuff. And so I think it was important for him, for me to communicate those things of like, I really have to get this done because at the same time that I was in school and working and all that stuff, I was also a peer tutor with the school and having to do live sessions with the students for those classes.
That's cool.
And so I would say, hey, this is my peer tutor day. I have to do my live session. It would be at like 6:30 or 7, which is bedtime. So then I would say, you have to do bedtime tonight, whatever, that kind of stuff. And then, I would just be like, I have to go, I have to get this done, I have to do that. Or on a weekend, I would say, I need to go get some charting done, or I need to do this. And so I would go into the office and sort of try to get that done and try to spend an hour. And then he would try to entertain the kids or do whatever. And luckily, a lot of the stuff that I needed to get done was I could do, after bedtime. So I could be more present in our dinner time and bedtime routine. But when it came to the peer tutor stuff, I couldn't really do those too late in the day and all that stuff. And so then I would just kind of verbalize that and let him know, this is what I need to do. I need to study or I need to do this at this time. And so I kind of need you to pick up the slack there. And so he's not good at reading minds, unfortunately.
Are you a pretty good communicator now,
Now,
or do you feel
yes.
like now? Okay.
When we first got married, no. And even like having Charlie and having Ellie, we were not historically very good communicators on either end, but we've had hard conversations, and that's, carried us now into being a lot better communicators. And I think here in Texas, he has a much more low stress job. Still the
Hmm.
same job in the sense, but not really, right? Like he's not deploying, he's not doing the job, he's supporting the job. And so it's been better for him when he's very stressed out, he just kind of shuts down. And so being in a more low stress environment has helped him become a better communicator on his end. And then we've both kind of gotten better over time. And I think now that I'm not in school, it's helped me, school helped me become a better communicator because there was a lot happening. I was still working, I had the kids, we had moved, I had clinical, I had all these things that needed to get done. And so that helped me become a better communicator. But then now moving here, he's become a better communicator, which has helped both of us kind of communicate a little bit better. We were not before. We just weren't. We both were like just we would shut down and it was that's okay.
So you feel like it was a gradual, like, I am very structured, and I think so logically that sometimes it's like very difficult, not even just for me to communicate, but for other people to know that I'm on their side because I am so logical in my communication. In my head, I'm like, if we have a problem and I write it down, we will never have that problem ever again. Because that's just like how my brain, I know. And what's funny is my brain thinks very logically, but I understand that that is an illogical way to
Yeah.
think. The way that I see it is, if I understand the root cause of the problem, cool. That won't happen again because I will intentionally ensure that that won't happen again. And I obviously understand not all humans are
Yeah.
like that, but that has made communication exceptionally difficult in relationships. Not even just like with me and my girlfriend, but just like in personal relationships, because someone will do something and then I'm like, we talked about this. Why did you make the same mistake? But you just like can't be like that to people because all humans, including myself, obviously come with significant
Yeah.
error.
Yeah. I think it's none of it's ever logical. I think we're bound to do it again no matter what. I think it's just about knowing your way out. So it's not necessarily about eliminating the problem. The problem will always be there, whether it's there now or there in 5 years. But knowing your way out of the problem is what's more important than preventing the problem.
I like that. I've actually never even considered
Yeah.
that like train of thought.
Yeah. Like, I think it's more important to know how to navigate it, whether that's by yourself or together, how to navigate out of it versus preventing it. Because I don't think you'll ever be able to prevent it when maybe in your own two-person relationship, because you both know that happened before, we know how to not happen again. But you, in your personal relationships where there will always be new people coming in, or
Hmm.
it's been a while since you've seen that person. They don't remember that, right? So they're bound to do whatever it is again at some point. But knowing your way out is better than just knowing how to prevent it because, like you said, humans are not error proof and everyone is bound to do something again, whether on
Yeah,
purpose or on accident, just because that's just how our brains are wired. We can't ever get rid of anything.
that is cool. What did you study? So when you go through nursing school, do you learn? I asked Caitlin something very
Mhm.
similar, and then I realized she's in neuro and
Mm.
now she's in
Mhm.
ortho. And the entire time I was like asking her just like random medical questions, and she's like, "Well, that's not technically like my field." I'm like, "Yeah, well, you're a doctor, so like, tell me." But like, okay, so when you go through nursing school, like, what does that look like as far as like an influx of like knowledge? I can't even think of how I'm trying to ask this question.
So
How was
nursing
nursing school?
school in general, like my first degree, my associates was when I got my nursing degree. That was basically learning everything. So
Okay.
you learn everything about every body system, peds, OB, cardiac, G, everything. And then you go through all your clinicals, which are usually on like general medical floors. So you obviously your peds rotations on peds and OB is on OB. And then the rest of the time you're on the general medical floor. So you can see pretty much anything. So like post-surgical patients or stroke, heart attack, normal stuff to get an idea of all the things. But essentially, you're just getting the base knowledge of everything in the body, but it's not everything you could possibly know. So a lot of my knowledge has come from working. So my associate's degree was just that. It was just the basic knowledge of everything you could possibly know for every specialty of nursing. And then the board exam was kind of the same way. It was just, do you have the basic knowledge of every part of the body in every age group, including maternity, enough to be a safe, competent nurse who can learn on the job, is essentially what they're trying to navigate. My bachelor's was not had nothing to do with the body at all. It was it's a management degree, so it's the degree you need to like
Oh,
be a nurse manager. It was just
okay.
papers, and I took like biochemistry and statistics, and it's just a management degree. So how can you manage nurses? How can you do all that stuff? It doesn't have a board exam or anything like that. You just finish the program and you got the degree. I finished it actually 7 days before I had Charlie.
Really?
And I was on a yoga ball about to go into labor, like getting ready to go into labor on the phone with my instructor, like finalizing my program yet.
A fucking dog, Molly.
And then 7 days later, I had Charlie. Um, and then nurse practitioner school is similar to the first nursing degree in that I went to family nurse practitioner school. So there's a bunch of different paths you can take. You can go pediatric nurse practitioner and just learn about ages 0 to 18. But you can't treat anyone above the age of 18. Family nurse practitioner goes birth to death. So I'm learning everything like I did in nursing school, the basics of caring for someone and knowing how to do that from a provider standpoint instead of a nurse standpoint. So I had mentioned earlier that as nurses, we learn how a patient presents so that they can go where they need to go appropriately to see the appropriate provider, but we're not providing care in the sense that as a nurse, I'm not diagnosing and treating you unless I have orders. So I'm just following orders, but I don't know how to diagnose you with anything. I mean, I could, but I'm not allowed. As a nurse
Hmm.
practitioner, we're learning that second aspect. So the nurse has gotten the patient here. So now what are you going to do? So now we have to learn they're presenting this way. What are things that could be going on causing how they're presenting? And what are you going to do about it? So what's the workup and what's the diagnosis and what's the treatment? That's what nurse practitioner school is teaching you. Depending on the track you go, like you could be a nurse midwife and just learn about OB. Pediatric, like I said, is just 0 to 18. But family nurse practitioner, I was learning peds, OB, general adult, and like geriatrics, because I can work in OB, I can work in a pediatric office, primary care, family medicine, urgent care, anything like that. So derm, all of that. So they had to teach us what we need, enough information to be able to go to any of those places and work. And then the board exam is kind of the same way. It's like, do you know the basics? Like, you don't need to know every single blood pressure medication, but do you know what you would do first? Or like,
Hmm.
do you know how to read this this basic EKG or whatever it is? And so it's a lot of information, but it's not all the information. It's one of those things where it's just about stamina. Nursing school is about stamina. Honestly, a week before I finished nursing school, I almost quit. I was in accounting school, like business school, before I went to nursing school.
Really?
Yes.
What did you want to do with that?
I don't know. I was like 21.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Molly the businesswoman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in business school before I went on, or nursing school. And then I started my bachelor's before, like right before Matt and I met. And that was pretty much because the hospital I was working at said you need to get your bachelor's within 5 years. It was all online and I knew it would be just papers, so it didn't matter. But I think I just went back to I went to nurse practitioner school because I was bored. I didn't want to teach. Why was I bored with a 6-month-old and a 16-month-old? I don't know, but I was. I didn't want to go, I wanted to get another nursing degree, but the master's level degrees for nursing are like teaching or nurse practitioner. And I was like, well, okay. I was working in the peds clinic at the time. I didn't really know we were only 2 years into North Carolina at that time. So I didn't really know what it looked like as far as moving. And so I was like, well, I could work here as a nurse practitioner. It'd be fine. Of course, we moved 2 weeks before I finished my nurse practitioner program. It's really a lot about stamina. I think the bachelor's degree is very easy, but again, it's another thing where it's just about stamina. You just have to write the papers and get it done. It's annoying
Hmm.
and it's dumb, but it is what it is. And it's just papers. I can write a paper. Who cares? And then nurse practitioner school is kind of the same, very similar to nursing school. It's just about going through the motions of, because it's very hard when every teacher's expectations are different. So it's just about
Yeah.
knowing their expectations of how they want you to learn and going through the motions, having the stamina to push through it and just stick with it. And then the studying is also why you need the stamina, is to study for boards. It took me, I think, 4 weeks of just studying every day after I finished the program to study for boards. And so it's just really about stamina to get you to where you want to be. So if you have that.
Did you use a lot of like AI?
No, not really. I did mostly like Grammarly, which I guess is kind of like AI because they do rewrite some of your rephrase your sentences if they don't like the way you did
Hmm.
it. It's a little too wordy. But otherwise, no. I think my program was all online. So I think when we submitted our stuff, it checked for a lot of that stuff. So I think
Hmm.
it would have been hard to do. But I used Grammarly for punctuation and rephrasing and relied heavily on that. Otherwise, no, because once you got through the first year of the program, there really weren't a ton of like writing assignments.
Oh,
And
really? Yeah.
as far as like nurse practitioner school is concerned, then it was clinicals. So then you just had all those like clinical assignments. But
Hmm.
and then when I went to when I did my bachelor's program, there wasn't a ton of AI. Then that was like 2019 to 2021. So no AI that I knew about. No chat GPT that anyone is really using. So
Yeah, I'm curious about the surface of like artificial intelligence in because like you see it in tech,
yeah.
obviously, to your point with like
Hmm.
ChatGPT, Google is like using Gemini and like all that other kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But like in healthcare, I mean, you listed off like seven, I guess, subtopics of
Mm-hmm.
nursing that you had to be very well versed in that like I can't imagine expecting one person to be able to like off the top of their dome regurgitate like all of that kind of stuff. Like
We
they're
did.
I mean, do you guys use it at work?
So yes and no. So in my last clinical rotation for nurse practitioner school, at the clinic I was at, I was with one of the PAs, and her supervising physician used AI for charting. So before she used AI, like the first half of my clinical rotation, she was doing the like dictation machine. So she would
Hmm.
go into a room, do what she needed to do, and then come back out and then dictate it. But then she found freed AI. So there's a bunch of like clinical documentation AI platforms now that came out like last year ish. And one of them is called Freed AI, which is the more popular one. And essentially, what happens is you open up the Freed AI platform on your work laptop, you go into the room, you leave it open, listens to you talk, it transcribes that conversation into the platform, and then puts it together in a note form of like, here's how they were presenting, here are your findings. Now, of course, with that being said, you have to say your exam findings out loud, which is crazy to me in the sense that, like, I'm not going to verbally say every exam finding. I'm just like in my head
Yeah.
cataloging, right? But then with that, you have to, which I don't know how it would feel if I was the patient and my provider was like dictating out loud during their exam findings. I'd be kind of scared. I don't know. Are you telling me that? I don't know.
Stroke. Yeah.
I think she's having a heart attack. But yeah, so she would have to basically say out loud everything and it would capture all of this information. And it eventually, after a few visits, got her template, like the way she liked to do notes and how she liked to have them presenting in the chart itself, provide all that information, and then she would just copy and paste it into the note and be done.
Hmm.
Like done with a chart as soon as she got out of the room, essentially. Like she would do a couple of edits here and there, like if it missed something or she thought of something after or whatever. But essentially, the note itself, the meat of the note, So a lot of providers are using that. A lot of providers in my first clinical rotation, I was with another PA, and her supervising physician had a scribe. So he did dictating when he was in his
Hmm.
office, but he had a scribe who would go in the room and transcribe everything they talked about, basically did the note for him, and put in orders that he would say out loud so that she was behind the computer and he could just like be doing patient care stuff. So that's another take that I think is kind of going out. I think they're using more scribes in ERs than they are in office settings. But I do know that the sort of like clinical documentation AI platforms are becoming more mainstream. I think it's just about people not wanting to pay for it and they want their work to pay for it. And
You're saying like hospitals?
like, so to be reimbursed for it essentially. So the provider that was using the free AI, she was like, I got like a free trial because I'm seeing if the company that they worked for would reimburse her for paying for the year of the free AI. Companies, I don't know if they're willing to jump on that bandwagon. I think there's still a lot of legal implications that they have to consider because, like I said, she's taking the computer in there and it's just listening to her talk. And
Mm, okay.
it's not the charting system that's doing that. It's an AI system that she's then, and it's encrypted and it erases everything after you're done, right? So
Hmm.
it's that one's, I don't know about the other ones, but that one specifically, I know it does. It's encrypted and it does erase it, all the information, and it doesn't capture names or anything like that. There's still that legal implication that they have to consider. So I think a lot of providers want to do it, but they don't want to pay for it. And they're not going to get reimbursed for it if they do pay for it right now. Well, I think companies
Yeah.
are considering their legal implications for utilizing a system outside of the charting system because the charting system was made to protect the patient and the provider. So when we're introducing something outside of that that could possibly bring in someone that they don't want accessing that information, I think, that's just something they have to consider.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be super interesting to see. My first experience with that wasn't like how you described it. I had a dude on Hurlburt, and this was like a completely different app than like program and stuff. But right before I got out, I remember meeting with my flight doc, and he had Chat GPT up, and he was just like, yeah, man, like tell me like what's going on. And he engaged with me, and then he went over to his computer, and we were just like talking about like football and baseball and just like whatever. And he's like typing all this stuff up in Chat GPT. And then I saw the prompt that he put in, and then he turned and looked at me, asked like a clarifying question. I answered it. He went back to his computer, typed it up, and then just copied. It was like some admin thing, like to your point, like a note or something like that. He literally just copied it and saved it, threw it in like a Word document, shipped it off.
Yeah.
And I laughed and I was like, dude, like I use AI almost daily. At like, how did you just use that system? And he's like, bro, he was like, I'm not like the smartest dude. He's like, I know medicine really well, or just like this field very well. He's like, I don't do admin. And he's like, that legitimately just saved me like 5 hours of like just like typing and like doing a whole bunch of
Yeah.
bullshit. And I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. And he's like, yeah, I don't know if this is acceptable, but like I'm using it.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, I can see more patients. And I feel like that's the whole
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. I think if it doesn't identify the patient, it's fine. I think that's
Mhm.
the the thing that people have to get over is as long as it doesn't identify the patient, I don't think it matters who can access that information. As long as eventually the information that could identify you as a patient is somewhere secure where only people who should access it can. Otherwise, I Google stuff as a provider because again, like I said, school doesn't tell us everything. It tells us a
Yep.
lot, but what it does is it tells us the basics and then it teaches us how to find that follow-up information. So I know the basics of like if you come in, you tell me something, I know what I'll do to work it up, but I don't know what I'll do when it comes back if it's
Hmm.
abnormal because that's not what they taught us. They taught us how to find that information and where a good place is to find that information, but they don't teach us they don't teach us start to finish of like you come in with this,
Yeah.
you get this because it could be anything. There's an endless possibility of abnormal results that could come in that mean something else that's impossible to teach all in an appropriate amount of time.
100%.
So the just knowing where your resources are, because it probably helped him navigate a treatment plan for you based on whatever it was. So I think that's all it comes down to. Is like I have to Google stuff all the time. I still have to Google like someone has a certain allergy to a certain antibiotic. Okay, what am I going to give them? I don't know,
Yeah.
but I know how to find it, right? Like I know generally the pathway I'm going to go. So many antibiotics treat so many different things. So an antibiotic that you might not be allergic to probably won't treat your UTI, but it'll treat your pneumonia. But I'm not going to give it to you for a UTI. And so I know enough that I know how to get to a certain point and then have to look it up, which I think isn't
Yeah.
anything, honestly. Know enough to get you there.
I actually completely forgot to say this in the beginning. First off, Molly, this has been phenomenal. Like again, this has just been it's been so chill. Like normally I had this like super detailed script and like I do my own research first, so I'm like not completely oblivious to whatever like the guest is talking about or whatever, but like this has been so natural. Like you're an amazing
Thank you.
conversationalist, like obviously,
I
which is
mean,
one
we've
of the
known each
reasons
other
why I was like,
forever.
oh dude, I know. That's why I was like, I have to get Molly on. Like, she's such a dog, but like, I didn't realize to what extent you were a dog. And so far in this story, you have said so many amazing stories. We're just like, yeah, bro, you just got to fucking pull your pants up and do it,
You
dude.
do. I think that comes down to who I'm married to, though.
You think so?
Yeah, I think that's his personality.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Matt's always been like, he's just like, yeah, it doesn't really seem like a lot bothers him either, which is like, obviously he's very animated and like stuff like that, but it doesn't, I've never really seen him like actually really upset about something to the point where he's like aggressively raging about it.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously don't know him professionally. You could probably speak on that more, but there's not, I mean, we both have quite a bit of patience. I will say, when it comes to being parents, maybe one has more patience than the other. Um, I won't say which one, but so I've seen that in that instance,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
But I think that just comes with the territory of two kids that are 3 and 4 that are 10 months apart.
Yeah.
And, trying to balance what your desire to relax and their desire not to is very hard. And so, I've seen it in that aspect, but never towards me. I've never seen it towards any of his friends or his family members or anything like that. I think he's very good at compartmentalizing, which goes down to what he's been doing for 1,000 years in the military. He's very good at carrying that over into life and knowing how to do that in real life too.
That's funny.
Well,
Yeah, we clearly get to experience different. I mean, I'm hoping I'm gonna take a trip to how far are you guys from Dallas? An hour? Okay. I intend on doing either a road trip. I haven't even texted Matt and told him about this yet. I'm moving to Vegas. I'm either gonna do a road trip
Mhm.
through Dallas or I'm going to come back to Dallas because we eventually plan on living there, the whole thing, right? With that said, before you guys leave, I like must meet Charlie and Ellie. Like,
I know
and
you haven't
yes,
seen Charlie since he literally, so 4 years ago today or yesterday was when we were in Florida and I found out I was pregnant with Ellie.
oh, really?
And Charlie was 2 months old, and that's the last time you saw him. We were at
Yeah.
Johnny Houston's, which I crave daily. I just want you to know that. Matt's very against moving back to Florida for our next duty station.
He doesn't like it?
No, I think we're just not single
He's just over the area.
young people
Yeah.
anymore. We're not beach people. We won't go to the beach. We don't want to live at the beach. The only reason we would go would to be closer to his parents.
Yeah.
But I am craving Johnny Houston's buffalo chicken sliders and their
Yes,
ranch.
dude. I'm glad you sent that. It's so good. It's so
But I
Johnny Houston's pay me $1,000 for promoting that.
anyway, yeah, so you haven't seen him since he was 2 months old and he is 4.
Yes.
They're very silly.
What happened? Because anytime I would go to North Carolina,
We just lived so far from base and you never had a car.
is that what it was? Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So like Matt would go out,
Yeah.
but I would be home with the kids because it would be like a weekday.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say it was always like Tuesday. That trip was always very busy too because we would fly into Charlotte, drive to Fayetteville, spend like a day and a half there, leave Fayetteville, and then have to fly into DC. It was
Yeah.
just, yeah,
So it
it
was
was a
just like
nightmare
you
trip.
never had a car, and then we were until like we moved to the on-base housing,
Mm.
we were always so far, like at least 45 minutes from base. So it was just hard to get out to Fayetteville at that time when we were so far away. And then once we moved to the on-base housing, we were only 20 minutes from Fayetteville, but you never came out.
Yeah.
But that's all. Yeah, it was just like we were so far away. And then with it being like a weekday, like we didn't really have like a sitter network or anything like that, like anyone on call that
Mm.
could just come and like watch the kids or anything like that. So yeah, so it's been a while. Well, Ellie's the big girl. You've never met Ellie.
I know. I know. She has so much personality
Oh my
too.
God.
It's so like I don't think people like really understand how much. So very sparingly I use Instagram on my phone just because like I fall through the trap of like the reels and just the whole thing. And so the people that know this call me a boomer, but I use Instagram on my desktop, and so I'm literally like scrolling through what is it called?
Stories?
Like the stories or whatever. Yeah. So like obviously if I post a story, it's from my phone. Like I can't take those ridiculous photos like with my webcam
Yeah.
or whatever. I'll see like your stories and I tell Matt this all the time. I don't know if he's like told you. I'm like, dude, her stories are so funny.
He's told me a couple times.
Okay, yeah. I'm like, if like every time I see that you have like a story update, I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. I'm like, let's see what this. And it's like Charlie being ridiculous, like Ellie just looking cute, or like some healthcare like meme or something like that. I'm like, these are all funny. These are all so
Yeah.
funny.
I'll try and keep it funny. I think it's funny because, like I said, I was in business school before nursing school, and I really almost quit nursing school. To be very forward facing that I am like the least amount of a people person that could ever exist.
Are you really?
I I'm extroverted with the people that I know
Mm-hmm.
and I like, but I am otherwise very much so introverted. And I think well, I should say this. It comes down to the patient population. I'm more extroverted and more of a people person with young people. So like younger patients
Mm-hmm.
closer to my age. I'm more like I like literally sit like back like an old doctor. And I'm like, it's like one time I had a patient tell me slay.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God,
That's
I've
cool.
never felt so old in my life, but this is hilarious. And then you get to like older patients and I'm just uncomfortable. And so I'm just like there to do a job and I'm not interested in conversing with you. Um, but but like in a pediatric setting, so like when I was a nurse in a pediatric setting and when I was a provider doing my clinicals in the pediatric setting, the parents are younger. They're more my age most of the time if they're younger children. And so I'm a different person in that setting because I'm like
Mm-hmm.
part mom because there's a child in front of me, and then part like friend for them because I've been in their shoes before or currently am. And so it's easier for me to relate in that setting. And then I'm a different version of myself. So I think it just depends on the setting I'm in. But yeah, I'm fairly like, I don't stop for accidents. I don't tell people what I do for a living. If I was on a plane and someone needed a doctor, I would not stand up. I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry. I just won't. I've never had to do CPR since I've been a nurse since 2018. 2018. Never had to do CPR. I don't intend to ever do it. I know how. I don't want to do it. Yeah, like I don't. I see an accident happen. I keep driving. Um, I
Molly, you have to help these people.
No, because the one thing that what they teach you in school, because there is a Good Samaritan law, right? There is a Good Samaritan law, which is fine. But outside of the Good Samaritan law in an emergency setting, I don't want to ever create the patient provider relationship outside of
Mhm.
an office setting, like ever. There's too much I've paid too much money to have the 3 college degrees that I have, and have the 2 licenses that I have to do anything to jeopardize that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So
There's like
you're
a
saying
wall
from a
there
standpoint,
to like protect
yes.
what I have just immersed myself in, like what I have
Okay.
achieved.
I thought you were coming from a place of like,
The C
if
the
there's
CPR one
like,
is a place of like I just don't have any desire.
oh, okay. I thought that was so funny. You're like, if there's an accident, I'm just gonna keep driving.
Bye. Someone will stop. It's
Okay.
fine.
So it's part you don't want to get sued by trying to help somebody. I've seen so many stories of like someone trying to help and then,
Yes.
that person's like rib gets blown out because you're doing CPR and they're like, oh, I'm
It,
fucking
you
suing you.
break
Like
their
I've seen
rib
stuff
and
like
it
that.
punctures their lung and their lung
Yeah.
collapses. Well, I don't want, it's different from a nurse standpoint than it is from a nurse practitioner standpoint because there's so
Hmm.
little that could go into creating the patient provider relationship. And once the patient provider relationship is established, you are legally responsible for what happens related to that issue.
Huh. Okay.
It's a very easy, like, you could say, what can I take for my rage? This is the worst headache I've ever had. What can I take? And I say, well, you can take some Tylenol or some ibuprofen. Patient provider relationship. You don't just have a headache, you have like a bleed or you're having a stroke and you're having some neurological event and then you die. Well, I didn't tell you to go to the ER. I told you to take some Tylenol and you died. Then I could be considered responsible for that if someone knew about that conversation.
Yeah. Okay. I did not know to that extent because again, I'm thinking you're coming from like a pure like extroverted. You're like I just don't like people,
Well, I
but
don't,
there's
but
inherent risk. Yeah, of course, of course. But you're saying that there is like extreme
Mhm.
risk in potentially giving someone advice like that, just like normal, regular, everyday like conversation, and then something happens to that person. And they're like, well, fucking Molly told me to drink water because I had a headache
Mhm.
and now my eye is
Mhm.
red, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Huh. Okay. I mean, yeah, in that case, I'd be like, none of my fucking
Right.
business, dude. I didn't see it.
Yes. So it's just one of those things where I think there's more risk than people understand, and people
Yeah.
are a lot more risky with their license. And the thing that people don't realize about the nursing board, so even as a nurse practitioner, the nursing board is still responsible for me. So I have to maintain my nursing
Hmm.
license. I'm still considered an advanced practice nurse. I'm not considered like a doctor or anything like that. I don't have my doctorate. So the nursing board is still responsible for me. Well, the thing is some people think that you do something, nothing happens. Well, the nursing board is just really behind. So they'll come after you in like 6 years. They just have to get to
Huh.
you. They just have to get to it, right? They have this list
Yeah.
of stuff and then you fall at the bottom. They get to you. Well, it's not going to be a couple of days or a couple of months. It's been years, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years later. They're coming after you for something. And I just think people are more risky with their licenses because they think they're untouchable, because they think the nursing board is too busy to worry about it and they have bigger fish to fry. Well, they probably do right now, but they might not in
Yeah.
six
But they're gonna
years.
find a way. Yeah.
They'll catch up to it eventually. They just might have other things to do right now. And you didn't kill anyone, so low on the totem pole, but still on the totem pole regardless.
Yeah.
I don't want to be on the totem pole. I'd rather just be invisible, especially
Huh.
because
That is
I
not
have
the
a
advice.
DEA license right now, and
Yeah.
it scares the life out of me. I don't want to. I've told patients before. I said I don't feel like making the DEA mad today. No, thank you.
That's funny. Will you have anything else for like closing
Mm,
or anything like that?
Can't think of anything. Do you have anything you want me to share that we haven't already talked about?
No, and I tell Chris that I'm going to leave our episodes to 90 minutes. So in 30 seconds, I'm going to click exit. Well, it's just going to stop the like
Oh, okay.
recording. It's not going to like kick you out or anything. Yeah.
Do you want to see Matt?
So yeah. Yes, I
Okay,
do.
go see.
Okay. Let's close the
Okay.
episode. Thank you,
You're
Molly.
welcome.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for
And
having me.
then thank you everyone for listening and all the good things. Okay.